ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the inaugural lecture of the new Long Island Stage series. Tonight, we have with us a speaker who is sure to delight and amaze you. It has been said that if Rube Goldberg were alive today, he would be called Professor Spooner. Now, several years ago, my husband and I were on vacation in London, and we stepped down into a tiny storefront museum called the Cabaret Mechanical Theater. People were lining up there to put coins into slots to watch wonderful automated figures actually working. We were caught in a spell, mesmerized by these tiny moving worlds. It was love at first sight. And so I managed to track down the creative genius behind all of this, Professor Spooner. And I badgered him with my letters and my phone calls. I was determined to bring him home to Long Island. As you can imagine, he was a little skeptical at first. You see, he lives in the country. He hates the city. He says it gives him a headache. And so we're very honored to have him here with us this evening because aren't we a little close to the city? Now, I know for a fact that he's a bona fide country boy because, man, I should say, every time I call him up on the phone, I can hear the chickens in the background. Now, those of you who are familiar with Professor Spooner's work through his books and his research, I know that you've actually been awaiting this opportunity to see him demonstrate in person his theories on zoological mechanics. That's all right, just, fine. Now, if you're not familiar with his work, I know you will have a fantastic time. So, what more can I say? Without any more ado, I will bring to the stage Professor Spooner, sculptor, artist, mechanical engineer, inventor. His work has been seen from Paris' Centre Pompidou to Berlin's Kunstacademy and this evening, right here on the Long Island stage. Won't you join me in welcoming Professor Spooner?
A couple of weeks ago, I gave a lecture up in Maine in a small town, the Grange Hall. At the end of my 4.5-hour presentation, a curious thing happened. It seems that during the entire presentation, no one laughed. And I thought this strange, so I went out into the parking lot to see if I could determine what the problem was. And I overheard an elderly couple. He said, as they came out, "Ma, I believe that was the funniest thing I have ever heard." She said, "Yes, it was, Pa. All I could do to keep from laughing." This is the goat. It's an example of a rough automaton. It's my favorite creature in the Zoo of Tranquility. But more about this later. The first part of my lecture this evening deals not with the rough automaton, but rather with the rise of the smooth automaton, or the mechanical man. just take a second. That's zoological mechanics. The rise of the smooth automaton, or the mechanical man. I have one of those too.
Squeeze tight, make it burn. Now lower your buttocks. Extend your left leg out. Grab your right foot and pull it across your... Now, why should people have such extravagant fantasies about mechanical creatures, and especially mechanical men? I made the machine, I control it. Man makes
machines to do his work for him. It is my intention to build mechanical man's best friend, his automata. No muss, no fuss, no pooper scoopers necessary. You may take this just as a joke, but a belief in the possibility of their existence has persisted since classical times. And in the matter of flying machines and mechanical men, it seems that the imagination has always leaped ahead of the technology. Take Icarus, for example. Or, do you all know who Icarus was? He was a mythical man whose father made him a set of wings out of wax. He flew too close to the sun. I need say no more. We may take the ancient story of Theseus and Talus. Theseus and Talus. When Theseus first met Talus, the enormous man of brass, who regular as clockwork stamped around the shores of Crete. Do you all know who Talus was? He was made by the same guy that made the other guy's wings. And he used to heat himself up, and he'd take intruders and hug them and kill them. Theseus automatically assumed that Talus was some kind of a machine. He assumed this, even though the technology of the times would have been hard-pressed to build a serviceable wheelbarrow. Always the man of action. Little Theseus was content to wrong-foot the monster, allowing him to crash into the sea, never to be seen again. This loss at sea must have come as bad news to the engineer Hero of Alexandria, circa 200 BC, who would have loved to look inside Talus to see how he worked, and more particularly how he was powered. Hero had experimented with fire, water, and air to produce movement, and had managed some small effects, such as causing the doors of model temples to open when fires were built in front of them, causing grass birds to sing, and other creatures and figures to move as if of their own accord. Ancient accounts of these and other automata might lead one to believe that those who made them possessed miraculous powers. Now this may be true, but they also had a feel for the art of presentation. Even a modest machine can be made to seem marvelous by the subtraction of a little light and the addition of a little movement. The very fact that things moved as if, without any human agency, must have impressed contemporary observers. Even today, when we are surrounded by examples of machines that move without being pushed, there lingers the idea that movement equals life. When I catch sight of something slipping from the towel rack, reason tells me that it is merely a towel. Although the thought has involuntarily occurred to me that it might be some living thing. I do not think that this is the result of a morbid fear of towels, but rather from an instinct for self-preservation that is fine-tuned to check out any sudden movements for possible threats. With the brilliant automaton makers of the 18th and 19th centuries, the fantasy of artificial life began to be realized. Much mechanical engineering talent of the times was engaged in the problems of accurate timekeeping. It is clockwork that powers the automata that we see still in working order at the Musée d'Art et d'Histoire in Neuchâtel, Switzerland. The museum has been kind enough to loan us one of their earlier models. I would like to demonstrate it for you this evening. You're not supposed to say hello. You're supposed to say cuckoo.
Oh!
Well?
Well, what?
Aren't you going to say cuckoo?
Me?
Yes.
I can't.
Why not?
Your hand's too cold.
Look, I think you're just stalling.
Well, what time is it?
It's getting late.
Oh!
Look, you're a cuckoo clock. Say cuckoo.
I'm not that kind of a clock.
You're not?
No.
What are you?
I'm a Swiss-made, spring-driven, clockwork-operated ornithological device.
Oh, you took the the words right out of my mouth. Would you please say cuckoo?
Oh, all right.
Many thanks to the museum for the loan of this priceless relic. There is one idea that has always dominated the thoughts of automatists through the ages, and that is that given enough gears, cogs, and levers, a machine could be built which was exactly like a human being. Nowadays in Japan and in Disneyland, much work is being done to produce figures that not only look, feel, and smell like human beings, they also speak.
Nowadays, in Japan and in Disneyland, much work is being done to produce figures. Nowadays, in Japan and at Disneyland, much work is being done to produce figures that not only look, feel, and smell like human beings, they also speak. I think, perversely, that the effect of these carefully made things is not one of naturalism.
It seems to me that the more exactly these creatures resemble human beings, the more sharply the remaining differences between them and us are brought into focus.
It is not natural to subject a real human being to the minute examination the almost human machine invites.
For the favorite pastime of the automatists, to play musical instruments. The inferior machine's fingers merely moved over the keyboard while the organ played itself. The Swiss Museum pamphlets make much of the fact that their organ players' fingers actually work the keys. Imagine, if you will, the difficulty in transmitting movement from a clockwork motor here in the base of the machine, up the legs through the torso, down into the arms, which are themselves moving, and into each of the 10 fingers and thumbs, precisely enough to press the right key with the right pressure for the right length of time to produce music. Imagine. My own innovation. It's what the world really needs. Automata. These are non-intimidating machines and creatures. It's a zoo of tranquility.
Part 2, rough automata and the Zoo of Tranquility. Typically, the Zoo of...
This'll just take a minute.
Part 2, rough automata and the Zoo of Tranquility. Typically, the rough automatist avoids the pitfalls of naturalism as he avoids all hard roads. He prefers to tread the pliant grass verge, the pliant grass parkways, the pliant grass paths, the pliant grass lawns. The Zoo of Tranquility is carpeted with a soft turf designed to help the rough automatist and his creatures feel at home. Always on the lookout for shortcuts and half measures, he likes to take advantage of the gaps in people's perceptions to create cheap but cheerful effects. Very cheerful effects. People are willing to spend their beliefs and accept things at face value. This is only common sense for almost everyone on the planet. The fact that the Earth revolves around the sun is interesting. But irrelevant. The effect is, and always has been, of the sun revolving around the Earth. Everyone, except astronomers and rocketeers, perceives this to be the case in their everyday dealings with the universe. If people are willing to suspend their beliefs on an astronomical scale, then some small deception in the matter of a mechanical toy should pass without comment. Fly swatter! Fly swatter!
That's what? Sounds just like a man.
Fly swatter!
The swat flutter, the fly swatter, is a mechanical jack who is sitting at a cafe in Montmartre, stirring a cup of tea while he swats a fly. They couldn't see. The mechanism drives the teacup around. The hand, which appears to be doing the stirring, is not doing so. It has no motive power to animate a hand. So it really did the stirring. We would have to create replicas of all the muscles and tendons of a real arm. This is not the way of the backyard automatist. Here in the Zoo of Tranquility, not only are the movers shamelessly exchanged with the moved, and causes confused with effect, but we deem these inversions to be virtues. We rejoice in the saving of time and materials. Now this exhibit from the Zoo of Tranquility may strike you as just another toy, but there is a profound lesson to be learned from its operation.
Now this exhibit from the Zoo of Tranquility may strike you as just another toy, but there is a profound lesson to be learned from its operation. Just another toy. 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 Toy.
But there is a profound lesson to be learned from its operation. The act of stirring is an extremely complex anatomical function. Allow me to demonstrate. Brachioradialis supernator longus, extensor carpi radialis, extensor digitorum profundus, extensor digitorum superficialis, flexor pollicis longus, flexor pollicis brevis, abductor pollicis brevis, abductor pollicis longus,
Flexor carpi ulnaris, flexor carpi radialis, extensor carpi radialis, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor digitorium, extensor pollicis brevis longus, olecranin of ulna, olecranin of ulna,
olecranin of elbow, digiti minimi, digiti minimi brevis est, opponens digiti minimi, extensor digiti minimi, abductor digiti minimi, abductor digiti minimi, 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 coffee, tea, coffee or tea? Coffee, cream? Sure. One or two lumps? None! Thank you. You're very welcome. Hold that, sir. You'll be needing it in just a moment. Coffee or tea? Coffee. Cream? Cream. Sugar? How about lemon? Hold that, sir. You'll be needing it in just a moment. Coffee one. Coffee two. Tea three for him and me.
cream.
Thank you. Those of you with the teacups will notice that the anatomy lesson only confirms the absurdity of trying to use or even understand such complex anatomical functions. Hold up your cups so everyone can see. In fact, stand up so everyone can see. And those of you with the spoon, stand beside them. Put your spoon in the cup, hold it still. Those of you with the cups, rotate the cup and saucer, thereby stirring the beverage of your choice. a real Faberge egg. Peter Carl Faberge was a very smooth automatist who made jeweled Easter eggs for Russian and European royalty. Some of his better ones contained miniature elephants and cockerels that actually performed when the eggs were opened. Tsar Alexander III was so delighted with the Easter egg made for his Tsarina in 1884 in Faberge's workshop that he and his son, Hickey II, continued to work these exotic, elaborately jeweled, golden, and enameled eggs. Only about 45 are known to exist. The majority of those are in the collection of the late Malcolm IV. Only a few are held by the Kremlin. In Russia, the practice of exchanging Easter eggs was banned after the revolution, so that the Faberge eggs, so renowned and revered by collectors around the world, were virtually unknown in their motherland. It's only recently that the Kremlin eggs were renamed Faberge after years of being known merely as Russian. Another Russian egg is a pendant Easter egg carved of ivory, whose poignant provenance is that it was found among the personal effects of the imperial family by the general who was investigating at the scene of the murder. Now, the long history of the Easter egg is part of my 4.5-hour presentation. This is my rough Faberge egg. It shows how a very amusing effect can be had for very little outlay. Three serrated wheels provide the noise, thereby eliminating the need for an expensive cock-a-doodle-doo effect. And the cockerel is merely a pig in disguise. To erect a fragile joke on the craft so substantial as one of Faberge, that's useful. But I have hitched rides on the reputations of famous artists. The real paint, Manet's Olympia, is of a self-possessed woman who is wearing nothing but a necklace. A slipper, a bangle, and an orchid. She is reclining on a bed of fluffed up pillows. And is staring coolly out of the picture, much to the discomfiture of those who gaze upon her. Her maid, standing behind her, holds a bouquet of flowers. Designed cheerfully enough to complement her mistress's flesh tone. At the foot of the bed, we see a black cat, who is engaged in some very cat-like tail twitching and stretching. This painting raises several important questions. Is the woman really in control of the situation? Or is she merely the unwitting victim of the ever-popular male exploitation? Is it sexist? Is it racist? What does the cat do? When this painting was first put on exhibit at the Paris Salon of 1865, it created such a scandal that no one would pay even 100 francs for it.
Size 130.5 by 190 centimeters,
Can you imagine that? In the ensuing year, since 1865, this painting has hung in some of the prestigious galleries and museums around the world.
Les Beaux-Arts, Exposition universelle, Musée Luxembourg, le Louvre Jeu de Paume, Musée d'Orsay, Parc de Belmont.
That's right! The flea market at Belmont Park on Memorial Day weekend! That's what we found it yesterday! I'm gonna let this painting go. I'm gonna let it go not for 100 francs, not for 90 francs, not for 85 francs, but for 79 francs and 95 centimes! Is there not a person here who has 79 francs and 95 centimes in their pocket? You're just as bad as the French. Regard the frame. Drink in the beauty of the form.
The body, his favorite model, Victorine Muron. Marvelous tactile quality, fleshy density, based on the Venus of Urbino. Un celebre fondello basato su Venere di Urbino del Tiziano nel 1963. Capisci?
Capiche? Yes, I capiche. I capiche very well. I understand your concern. I know what you're thinking. What if I bought the painting? What if I took it home, hung it in the living room, and then Jesse Helms came to dinner? For that reason, I am prepared to offer 4.5 by 6 inches, ink on paper, non-skid, glossy surface, place for a message, place for a stamp on the back, a photograph of my Mayonnaise Olympia, which resides at the Cabaret Mechanical Theatre, Covent Garden, London. I will open the bidding at 25 cents. It's going to get to be a very long evening if we don't get the bidding started. 25 cents, yes sir, 25 cents, 25 cents here. 50 cents, who said 50 cents? Raise your hand, please. 50 cents, 50 cents, I got 50 cents, 50 cents, half a dollar, 50 cents, he'll make it 75. 75 cents, the lady in the red sweater, 75 cents. This is a postal
81 cents, 81.
I'm sorry, sir, we have to restrict bidding to increments of 5 cents. 80 cents over here, 80 cents, 80 cents. Go here, 90. Go here, $1. Okay, back to 60 cents.
55.
55 cents. Who'll make it half a buck?
50 cents.
Yes, sir, 50 cents. You got yourself a bargain.
20 cents. No.
Sorry.
Hobson sponsored joining. Here we go.
Yes, sir, thank you very much. That concludes the auction part of this evening's program. We are now into direct sales. 25 cents a piece, 2 for 50 cents, 3 for $1. You don't want to go home without it. Who wants to see one of these beautiful postcard photos? A genuine photograph of a work of art. Let's prevent another scandal. Keep it in your bureau drawer.
11 cents.
25 cents a piece, 25 cents. Let's see the color of your money.
Which way's the home?
Anybody else? What? Yes, sir. I'm waiting. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 25 cents. Thank you very much. We now return you to the professor. Male exploitation, sexist, racist. What is the cat doing? Cats have no mystery for me. I know their lives are engaged in one long, unending bout of self-gratification. I know what this cat is up to. Now, this is Manet's Olympia, but here is our Olympia. Our Olympia is powered by a peristaltic valve pump. It's the kind they use in hospitals to pump blood around their patients. The pump turns the gears from this butter churn, the whole thing goes by the summer timer, which rotates the fan thrown off balance by this eccentric vane. Sends a shiver up the body, down the arm, and rattles the things on the tray. Now, the woman's head is nailed to the pillow so that she stares calmly and coolly out of the painting. In contrast to the suggestive gyrations of her body The cat undulates, while the woman and the cat disport themselves. Anubis, the jackal-headed god of Egypt, standing in for the maid, delivers a cup of soothing instant coffee. The valve pump turns the butter churner gears, rotating the fan door of bells by the nuts, sends she rip the body down the arm and shakes the things on the tray. The key to the understanding of this piece lies in determining whether Anubis shakes with excitement or embarrassment. Remember, the smooth running of rough automata depends on the strength of material. Some materials are stronger than others. Take out your lecture notes. The ones that you were given when you came in. It's the center fold in. See a piece of paper. Some of you have already done it for closure. Okay. Just follow the directions. Fold. You've got the first fold made already. Fold the long way on the dotted line. You now have a piece of paper which has 3 dotted lines. Fold in on the center line. That's it. You now have what looks like a seagull in a bad painting. Now, fold in on the remaining 2 dotted lines. Remember, always fold toward the center and you won't embarrass yourself. And now insert one end into the other, and you will find that you have made a triangular 2. Place the 2 on the arm of your chair. Place your brick on top of the 2. Oh, those of you that didn't bring bricks this evening, place your teacups on top of the 2. If you didn't get a teacup, it's okay, take off your shoe, and you will see the surprising strength of material.
The surprising strength of material.
Now, there's another little illustration that we'd like to make of the surprising strength of material. We were just going to tell you about this, but we decided to try it instead.
2 men.
That's right, 2 men. I need one with a mustache and one with blonde hair and beady eyes.
Sitting on chairs.
While the crew brings out the chairs, I'll find the eye.
Extend their arms and support them by
He's got everything but a mustache.
providing against their chairs.
Oh, wait,
This forms 2 double
I'll
cantilevers.
find the other one.
The outside anchorages of the cantilevers are formed by ropes extending from the far arms of the men to a couple
What do you
of
think? He could have been blonde at one time. Want to help?
The central beam is
Come up with
represented by a short plank slung between the near arms of the men. And when stresses are brought to bear upon this system by means of a weight, the arms and the ropes come into tension and the poles and the legs of the chair into compression. 2 men sitting on chairs extend their arms and grasp 2 poles which are butt against their chair.
Got your abutment straight? Okay, good.
This forms 2 double cantilevers.
Move your abutment over. Those are technical terms. Keep your arms straight and relax.
The central beam is represented by a short plank slung between the 2 near arms of the men. When stresses are brought to bear upon this plank...
Stress! I need someone who weighs less than 100 pounds. With a haircut like that, who could go wrong? It's Gator. here, while you're preparing to sit on this seat, I'd like to tell you a little bit about this kind of a bridge. You see, this really is a bridge design. It's called a double cantilever. In 1907, a bridge like this was built in Quebec. It collapsed. 75 men died. You can take a picture in the theater? It's okay, go ahead. But it's not allowed. You have to send me copies. Just a moment, please. Nobody move!
Don't you want to be in prosperity?
Yes, I do. So do you. I have to open it? I got it. Okay, put it away. You're really not allowed to take pictures. Didn't you read your program? You know? It's okay. The camera matches her purse. What is this, Connecticut? Okay. Where was I? The bridge collapsed. 75 men died. It's okay, though. You know why? They rebuilt it. Stronger material. Yeah, but it collapsed again. This time only 11 men died. You see, when a stress is brought to bear on a stiff structure, you never know if it'll take the strain until you try. Sometimes the first sign of failure is collapse. Okay. I'm going to lift you up and set you in. I want you to grab these ropes like a swing, but I don't want you to swing. You guys ready? Don't clap. See? You doing? Okay? Have you ever noticed how difficult it is to think while you're eating? Here we have a picture of that's right, a goat. Now, if you were suddenly to turn into a goat, it hardly needs saying that your whole way of life would change. For one thing, it would be a shock to see things from half your height. Well, being a small person, you would turn into a small goat. If a small person turned into a large goat, his underwear would be dangerously tight. I predict the panic would soon subside as you became aware of unfamiliar but not unpleasant emanations from your two stomachs. You see, goats like to chew things over. And before long, you would be assessing the affairs of the world with an unhurried calm. If you had any reason to regret the transformation, you could console yourself with the thought that you might have been turned into a sheep. Now you think about that. While David's thinking that over, I'd like to take this opportunity for all of you to get to know each other a little better. So right now, turn around, say hello to the person behind you. Go ahead. Hold your right forefinger in the air. This isn't television. I can see you. Take your right forefinger, place it on your chin. On your chin. On your chin. Your chin! Sheep! Oh, sheep! Sheep are chalked to goat's cheese, while also ruminant. Sheep are constructed in a much clumsier fashion, bulkier bodies, shorter necks. This inspires in them a perpetual state of anxiety which clouds their thinking. When a flock of sheep is attacked, they will huddle together in a woolly, palpitating cluster, allowing the attacker to take his pick. Oh, but not so with goats. When goats are attacked, they will fly and flee in as many directions as there are goats, leaving the attacker empty-handed. Now, the outward and visible sign of a goat's intelligence is the rhythmic side-to-side movement of his jaw. Try moving your jaw like that. Now, try stopping your jaws for just a moment. See, your mind goes blank. This goes some way in helping us to work out why sheep have such faulty reasoning powers. You see, sheep only chew intermittently, so they are incapable of transferring a complete thought from their stomachs up to their mind. It should come as no surprise to learn that our director at the Zoo of Tranquility is a goat. Ah, the goat! The jaw movement is faithfully reproduced in this creature from the zoo. It's something like harmonic motion. Now, harmonic motion is a reciprocal or repeating movement, which is derived from a circular movement. While inherently beautiful to look at, it's not at all an accurate representation of the goat's natural reciprocation. No. What is needed is a jerkier stroke with a kind of a halt or a dwell at the end of each chewing stroke. A system of chords and levers, while unpopular and unfashionable, has been adopted for this creature from the zoo. Oh, no springs are used in this creature. It's a little hard to explain in technical terms, but the resultant movement is really quite goat-like. Try it? Give it a turn. I'm sorry that each and every one of you won't have the opportunity to try out these goats. Take the hand of the person next to you and turn their crank. See how goat-like they are? Well, we've talked about goats, we've talked about sheep, and we've talked about attackers. That's right, lions. Oh dear, lion. What is a goat or a sheep to a lion anyway? Brunch. Now, a real lion is an uncomfortable thing. It's uneven temperament and its rotten breath, ill-suited for the preeminence in our society that is recorded in its own. Lions are not very special. Nowadays, if they're breeding them by the dozens at the wildlife parks and flooding the market, you cannot give them away. Even in the Zoo of Tranquility, this king of the jungle is a fish out of water. It is the aim of the zoo to be an oasis of calm in an unforgiving and tumultuous world. So for his own good, we've decided to cut the lion down to size. Now, a systematic program of mockery will have good results, but only if carried out in small stages. The idea is not to break his spirit, merely to change his attitude. So we've given him the creeping feeling that his slip is showing. The next time that he opens his big mouth to roar, let him see how ill-suited he is for a role in an advanced society. Eventually it will dawn on him that his voice is out of tune with others. Don't be afraid. This is a lion from the Zoo of Tranquility. It's a tame lion. And technically speaking, it is an arrangement of levers, the simplest kind of machine. It is a fine example of Archimedes' classification of levers into three orders. You all remember Archimedes' classification of levers? Oh, I was afraid of this.
Bring the pivots. Place the pivot. Blank, please. Place the blank. Pivot. Blank. Professor. Archimedes' first order of leverage. Professor in paint. There is always a trade-off, and both sides get a fair deal. A small effort through a large distance into a large effort through a small distance. Or a large effort through a small distance into a small effort through a large distance. Right? Right. Now, let's take a perfectly easy example. A rake. You can feel the effects of this by stepping on the upturned forms of a rake. Rake. Now, your foot doesn't actually move very far, but with your weight on it, when the handle end gets going and is brought to a sudden stop by your nose, it has traveled a greater distance and consequently is traveling at the greater speed. Now, this increased speed, which is in usage when an impromptu lever rake throws itself at you, is helpful in understanding the principles of leverage. Got it?
I can tell. You're all wondering, what has this got to do with a lion? What has this got to do with a lion?
As the professor would say, it's a simple machine, a very simple machine. The orders of leverage, as demonstrated here, in the tail of the first order, the second order down in the body, and the third order. Don't worry, it's quite normal to have a third order lever type here. For most lions feel compelled to raise their tails when they roar. Only this one just doesn't spell very well. It should only gradually occur to him that something is amiss. With such a volatile student, retraining should be carried out with respect and circumspection. Try to tailor the course to his interests and don't let him get between you and the door. Do you live to work or work to live? The unhappy woodpecker is a fine example of this latter state.
The woodpecker. When next you hear his pathetic tapping, as he tries to shake his sordid meal of buds from out of some rotten tree, consider how he came to this lowly station. His ancestors were artists of fine sensibilities who did their tapping just as the mood took them, and then only on the soundest timbers. But sad to tell, they succumbed to the terrible mechanisms of evolution that grind creation into an ever finer paste of mediocrity. Their ears made useless by the constant hammering, got smaller with succeeding generations, and eventually the entire species degenerated into the artless cacophonists of modern times.
This mechanism from the Zoo of Tranquility, an example of the confusion of cause and effect, is a thin tree trunk rattled from side to side by a cam in the base. As the tree vibrates, so the woodpecker's loosely fitting head and body move a little out of time because of inertia.
Ah, inertia! The tendency of an object to stay in one place for a little while when a force acts upon it. Inertia. Inertia. The tendency of an object to stay in one place for a little while when a force acts upon it.
Tranquility! It would be idle to claim that the Zoo of Tranquility always lives up to its name literally.
Many worthy institutions fail to do so. The health authorities. They deal with illness, not with health. And the road safety committees spend their time discussing accidents.
Their titles reflect the ideal rather than the reality. If we have the occasional row at the Zoo of Tranquility, it reflects an honest desire to reach an agreement, sort of a peace conference.
One such controversy did arise over the admission of the wedding cake to the zoo. Two serious objections were raised. First, it doesn't contain any animal, only people. And dead ones at that. And second, that the sudden, and to most people, irrelevant emergence of 18 skeletons from a wedding cake might be an affront to good taste. It might offend some members of the public.
High words were exchanged until our stately director reminded us that zoos are for people, not animals, and that if visitors cannot reflect soberly on their own mortality,
They shouldn't have come.
while not solely dependent on visitors as a source of income, the Zoo of Tranquility does try to keep up with local trends in theme parks. Successes have been noted of theme parks, and our own modest version is in operation. It was difficult to find a theme that had not been exploited by rival organizations, but in bringing to life the Sunday afternoon activities of ancient Egyptian undertakers, we felt confident of our uniqueness.
The creatures depicted here and here are that breed of jackal that first introduced civilization to ancient Egypt. Impatient with early man's clumsy attempts to come to terms with his environment, they communicated their expertise in drainage, plumbing, and waste removal. Oh, the early Egyptians were enthusiastic students, and they soon set about with great energy redirecting the waters of the Nile into neat canals and rearranging the stones of the desert into nice, tidy heaps. King Daddy among these jackals was Anubis, Lord of the mummy wrappings, and enfant terrible of the funeral trade. He raised the art and turned it to such an elaborate level of showiness that its undertaking became a major industry. Soon, the operatives of the trade, jackals to a man, constituted a new and affluent middle class for whom leafy suburbs were built. They maintained their property to a very high state and were a shining example to us all of how one can live in harmony with nature. The slots governing the car polishers here are staggered so that they work at different times. This is done to instill in the viewer the illusion of free will and choice. I turn the crank. Something happens. I stop, it stops. I turn the handle.
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 Power!
Power! Not everyone has a way with animals. Some people find horses totally unsatisfactory, especially with the more modern developments in transport. The lack of brackets for the attachment of accessories is a glaring omission, and without lights, brakes, and seats, it's a scandal that the thing should be allowed on the road at all. If we can breed a pig with twice as much fat on him as the standard type, for a canary that can sing like Sinatra, then a multi-seater should not be too much to expect. And now, with the help of some genetic engineering and specially designed windlasses, I secretly at the Zoo of Tranquility have come up with my own four-seater prototype. The coordination of the action between the front and rear legs is not yet perfect, resulting in a harsh ride. And I expect some difficulty when it comes to mating a pair of these lengthy beasts. However, in spite of these small problems, the fuel consumption and environmental impact figures are most encouraging. It was not until I cantered my first prototype out of the hangar that a chilling thought occurred. What if I had given substance to the ominous vision of the four-man horse of the apocalypse? The dead horse! Four recharged riders driven by a can in the base. A push-rod rides on the can, pushes through a beam and is attached to a shaft, which is attached to the other side of the horse's body. And now, the ultimate automaton!
anybody has any questions about any of the creatures from the Zoo of Tranquility, I'd be glad to try and answer them. Who created the characters? Paul Spooner. Paul Spooner. He's the guy who built all these.
He's the guy we're talking about at the beginning. Tell him to read his program.
Yeah. She said to read your program. He's all of those things that Julie mentioned at the beginning of the show. He's an inventor, mechanical engineer, certified madman. And it all started with a visit by Mark Ross, who wrote the play, to the mechanical. But you heard this whole story. That was true. He went in, he saw the people, he tracked the guy down, he badgered him, and he built these life-size creatures from the zoo. There's a book, Spooner's Moving Animals, which was the first creation. And if you get the book, you'll find out that you can actually build most of the creatures that are here. And most of the words that are in the play are in there, so you can do your own show at home.
Can you tell them how much remember?
No, you have to make it. That's the whole point. It's rough Automata. It's not something you go out and buy.
You can see the years of work.
He's not only still building, he was in here painting yesterday. Yes, he's building what he calls a gag amusement park in Sheffield, England right now. Although he's actually in New York City right this minute, but he's going back to England tomorrow. Thank you all for coming.